Annie Purdue Olson here, and I am super excited to have with me today Kris Langworthy. And she is of Impact Zone Strategies and is trained and certified in an instrument on emotional intelligence. That's a big topic for every leader today. The name of the instrument is the TriMetric EQ. And Kris, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about this assessment.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on here. It's a treat getting to know you and, just getting to know, we've talked a little bit now and getting to know your audience and how much we have in common in that. So thank you for this opportunity. TriMetric EQ and just EQ in general. I mean, emotional intelligence is kind of becoming our hot button of our culture, isn't it? I mean,
Yep.
It's kind of, I don't care what you know. I want to know how well you get along with people because I can train you in the skills. Okay. And so TriMetric EQ is all about helping people. It looks at 5 different dimensions of your EQ. It looks at your self-awareness. It looks at your self-regulation. It looks at your social awareness, because you know what? I can be really self-aware and self-regulated, but if I don't have a clue what you're feeling when I walk in the room and I'm totally absorbed in me, we have a whole nother problem, right? We've both been with people like that. We know how this goes. So it measures also how socially aware you are, how you regulate, or how you're able to influence I call it the atmosphere or the temperature of a room. To a person who can walk into a room and kind of help shift it. Are you a thermometer or a thermostat? How well do you do that? And then it also measures your motivation. And motivation being all about what's that big game picture that you're going after? Because we find that if you have that big picture that you're going after, it actually brings all of those other pieces together better. Mm-hmm. So it's a fun tool. And then it also measures your driving forces, which is kind of fun because people don't always know what's driving them. And so, you know what, if I don't understand what's driving me, how the heck am I going to be self-aware, or much less regulate that?
Yeah. So it takes the time to look under the hood just a little bit. Those driving forces are kind of like looking under the hood of the car. You can notice the behaviors, you can notice the color of the car, you can notice the, make, model, but we got to look under the hood. What's driving that thing?
And we got to look under our own hood a little bit so that, when we know what's going on in our hood, it just gives us a whole new level of empathy for what's going on in somebody else. When I understand, it looks at your driving forces, and it also looks at your behavioral style. So it looks at, God, am I a person that just really likes to keep things safe and steady? And so Annie's coming along and she's asking me to move faster than I'm ready. And I'm going, so it helps us understand what's under the hood, which that's the beautiful thing about EQ is, your behavioral style, your driving forces are pretty established. You're really not going to change those. EQ is that thing. We can grow this thing. And they're finding more and more studies are looking at, if you really want to grow in your career, you want to grow in your productivity, your relationships, whatever it is, your impact in your community, you want to understand how to work well with people who are different than you. EQ is the place to look. It really is. And we can grow it. It's very, very growable. And that's what I love to do, is come alongside people and say, hey, this is where we're starting, but man, where do you want to go?
So talk to me more about that. What are the ways that you use EQ in the work that you do, this assessment and emotional intelligence, just even the concept behind it? How do you use it in the work that you do?
So the work that I do is I do working with people one-on-one, and I work with teams, both, because every team ultimately is made of an individual, right? And so it's like, I have a nursing background, and so I always say, your body's as good as your cells are, get back to the basics. You got to go really back to the basics. So what we do is I work with people. The biggest area is growing self-awareness. I say it starts with me. It really starts with me. And in a good way, because as I grow my self-awareness, all of a sudden I grow my appreciation and my empathy for, I'm not motivated by winning like she is, or I'm not motivated, or I am motivated by winning. But you know what? She may be more of a collaborative leader, and I'm more of an out front leader. And so really, I find that when you water the root of self-awareness, the whole plant grows. It's really good. And just helping people unlock what's really inside of them, because so many of us don't even, we respond and we react to our emotions, but we don't always know what was the root of that thing. you know, and I'm a farmer's daughter, and my dad always said you had to go for the rut. Go for the rut, girl. Go for the rut.
Well, I mean, so it sounds like, though, I mean, really the first step in the work that you do is really nurturing self-awareness,
Totally, totally.
because
That's
it
a
all
big,
stems from that.
it does. And you know, we kind of laugh about being a culture obsessed with me, but there are some positives to being a little bit understanding who you are, because then, you know, it's even like when teenagers are growing up, right? They feel like they're so self-absorbed and they don't know, you know, whatever. But it's like, that's the place we have to start and that's the only place that we ultimately can control,
Mm-hmm.
because I can't control your reaction. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the root of emotional intelligence, is understanding I'm responsible for my reaction, not yours.
Yeah. So
By
then,
going,
as people understand have more awareness of their own responses and their own emotional intelligence and their driving motivations and that kind of thing, like, as that grows, then what's the next step to being able to nurture or grow your emotional intelligence?
so that's one place I don't think we ever stop learning. First of all, we're going to continue to grow in that. I mean, that's why you're doing this whole focus on assessments. I mean, I think we have this natural innate curiosity to know and understand ourselves, and so there's assessments till the day is long, right?
Yep.
But so after that, though, I think we'll be life, you know, as our mutual friend Terry says, lifelong learners in that accord. We'll constantly be going after that and growing. But then we can talk about, you know, how do you regulate that emotion? You know, and that emotions aren't bad or good, they are. And how do we, you know, the reason we do impact zone strategies is an impact zone is actually a place in the wave, and it's this place in the wave that's washing over you, and it's like, okay, is it going to crush you, is it going to be a ride? And I think they say the average emotion will last 10 to 30 seconds if you just acknowledge it and allow it to ride through, which is crazy to me
That
because
is crazy.
yeah, so it's like, okay, how does that work? And then learning, you know, okay, have you ever been on a diet and it's like, I've got to have the chocolate now? Okay, that emotion's just washing over you, and I'm like running to my cupboard, finding the Hershey's bar, finding the Dove bar, whatever. And they talk about, okay, allow yourself to stop and pause and acknowledge, I really want that. But if we say, okay, what can I do to displace that emotion? Acknowledge it, first of all. And then what's the thought behind it? What's going on? Is there something triggering it? And that's where the self-awareness comes in. But then that 9 times out of 10, if we allow that thing to go and we distract ourselves or move on to something different, that emotion will dissipate within 30 seconds.
Wow.
And I'm like, that just floored me, because I don't know about you, but I've had emotions that feel like they lasted a heck of a lot longer than 30 seconds. I don't know all the research on that, but I'm still digging into that. But it's just like that whole understanding that emotions come and go, feelings come and go. And that's really the essence of it, right? Is that feelings are going to come and go. Don't do something with that emotion that you regret.
Yeah. Well, how often have we been triggered at work? You know,
Oh,
you get the email with a little bit of the sass in it, or, you know, a little bit of the critique that's really not founded in truth, or whatever it is. And our first reaction is just to, like, I'm going to send you back the cure for wherefore. And I mean, it's like this trigger response. And so, like, I mean, application for a lot of leaders and a lot of people in the workplace is just really to be able to step back and maybe walk away from your desk for a while, 30 seconds,
yep.
acknowledge the emotion. You know, that email was really yucky. I did not like that email, whatever it is. And then come back, and maybe without the emotion, you can look at that email and then go extract out of it what maybe isn't true or is an over exaggeration or isn't helpful, and then respond to the core of the message without the emotion engaged.
And one of the things we talk about with emotional intelligence training is, picture this glass and it's got a liquid in it. Is the liquid clear? Is the liquid cloudy? Or is the liquid red? And that when it's clear, because when we're in a heightened emotional state, it's red. And we can't necessarily make the most objective decisions when we're red. But you know what? If I can bring myself down to neutral, like you said, step away from the desk, take a couple minutes, maybe understand that I feel like they just questioned my authority to make XYZ decision. Were they really questioning it, or was an insecurity button inside of me getting flared up?
Ooh.
Figure out what's really going down, you know, and then bring that glass to clear. And now I can sit down and respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is okay for us to acknowledge the emotion. you know? We see examples in lots of places where, like in the biblical stuff too, where David's acknowledging, why so downcast, oh my soul, you know? He's not just stuffing it. And, you know, a lot of us are really good at stuffing emotions, and they don't go anywhere, and they actually hurt you. They actually, you know, I got a nursing background, and part of the reason I got into this is I saw you know, I worked long-term care, and I saw people long-term issues with resentment who had arthritis issues. You know, there's a book out there that's called Your Body Keeps a Score. And when we stuff those emotions, it's just not healthy. And so really this got started out of a healthcare perspective, even about, as much as I care about relationships, I see where relationships impact health.
Yeah.
So
I just finished go ahead.
I said we're very holistic, whether we realize it or not.
Yep, I agree. And I think in ministry, it's even more of something that we need to give attention to, because we live in such I think ministry is a fairly high stress environment. I just finished a class in June called 5 Days to Reset and Recharge Your Passion for Ministry, because the program year for a lot of churches and even a lot of nonprofits ends in May. And then come June, it's like everybody's like, you know, and so there's this burnout factor. But part of it is just like we have to like take a pause and step back and recharge and re-energize, because it affects us if we don't. I like the connection between like the way our emotions are going and what goes on here affects this.
Yes, it really does. And it not only affects us, but you know, and I know that it affects the people around us, because you've walked into a room, I've walked into a room where you can tell the leader is stewing or something's going on, and you like, okay, how am I going to handle this one? You know, am I going to be the thermostat? And that's where the EQ comes in for social awareness. Do I understand that you're brewing and I'm not, and I don't want to go there, you know? And, but to go even back to the self-awareness piece, when you're talking about the end of the year, to understand, a lot of ministry leaders are kind of like healthcare leaders, where we're totally energized by giving of ourselves and serving other people. And it's kind of like it becomes a drug of choice for us. But we've got to recognize that sometimes the drug loses its buzz, and, you know, we got to, you know, I think Huey Lewis in the news, got to get a new drug. I don't know. But it's understanding that there's that dark side of it, that we have to learn how to step back. And I think that's a key part of emotional intelligence, is knowing I need to step back. I need to take a breath. I need to recharge my battery. I loved when I saw you were offering that 5 days to reset, because it's totally needed.
Yeah.
And I've got such an issue with healthcare providers and pastoral staff and nonprofit leaders who are burning out, because they don't know how. They love saying yes, and they love serving people in all capacities, but they have to learn to say no so that their yes can be more effective.
Yeah. So it really, back to emotional intelligence comes to this piece about self-awareness, and then being able to manage yourself in your interactions with others and in the world around you becomes really critical to success as a leader.
Totally. And that's where I've really come to believe this is a key piece that we need to be looking at it. You and I have talked privately, but I'm really seeing where this is what I've been working with people on, but I never had a term for it. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, this is that, you know, this is what we need to help our people, to help them serve better and last longer. Because what they do is so valuable, you know, what pastors and these staffs, and they're priceless, but they need to know how to take care of themselves so that they can do more. And that really, if they want to maximize their impact long-term, they need to learn how to regulate. And I think you nailed it right there, is like that regulation piece.
Yeah. So when ministry leaders or any leaders and healthcare leaders and that watch this video, they want to reach out to you and they want to learn more about emotional intelligence, more about the TriMetric EQ and how it can help them or their team, how do they reach out to you?
Well, there's a couple different ways. They can reach me directly by just coming straight to an email, and that would be Kris, Kris, Kris at impactzonestrategies.com, or they can go to www.impactzonestrategies.com. So that would be great. So that would be fun.
That'd be great. And we'll put links to that in the comments and descriptions of this video so that people can just click a button and reach out to you. And I am super energized by our conversation. I do think emotional intelligence is a hot topic and something that we need to pay attention to. I think when we're looking at successful leaders, if we think about the top 3 leaders in our life that have been most influential, and we list out 3 characteristics for each of those leaders of what has made them such great leaders in our life, my guess is they're going to fit in the category of emotional intelligence.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
So thank you for sharing in the topic with me today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.